Hi, Dad. Can you hear me? Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. And you?
I'm good. I'm good. How was your week?
Um, was relatively uneventful, other than the news spreading the news, other than following the what's going on in the world.
What
I
have what have you been following? What's top of mind for you?
well, I would just piggyback on the article you sent me about the Bibles, um,
Yeah.
because I read a bit more about this, and I'm not sure whether this was uh, false information or not. The suggestion was that the Bibles were actually made in China,
Yes. Yep. I believe that. Yeah, I heard that as well.
but that he wouldn't know that because he would never open one to see, the
Yep.
label made in
But
China.
yes, the God Bless the USA Bibles are made in China, which and made. I mean, their declared value is about $3 each, and they're being sold for $60 each. So I mean, it's
See,
yeah. I mean,
but those are not signed. They're not
no,
signed
they're
by
just
either God, Jesus, or Donald Trump.
no, they're just $60 Bibles that they yeah.
But they're authorized by the state of Oklahoma or the,
Well, I mean, well, no, I think since I sent you that article, they've backtracked now and they've expanded the search criteria, but they never acknowledged how suspicious, I mean, how really they had written it in such a way that only that Bible could have qualified, but I think they've backtracked now. I mean,
so if you and I, if we published a Bible, suddenly we could probably, you could make a presentation to them for our cheaper Bible, right?
well, I mean, yeah, I was thinking so. The Satanic Temple, which does things like if they put up a Jesus in an airport, then the Satanic Temple tries to get them to put up a like Baphomet statue in the airport. I was wondering if they were going to publish their own Bible and see if they could try and get that into Oklahoma schools, but
But yeah, why don't they just ask the Gideon people, put them free in hotel rooms?
yes.
They'd probably get them free. They wouldn't have to pay for them.
Do you? I don't feel like that still happens anymore. I don't look. I don't know if I look in the nightstand, but
Yeah, I think actually that's a very good idea. I think first of all, no, because you don't always have drawers now in side tables.
yeah.
There was a standard kind of wherever you were, but now those things tend not to have drawers in them.
Yep.
So, I mean, I've been to some hotels where there are no drawers at all. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some shelves and
Yes. Yeah.
dining
No.
space.
Yep.
So I don't know where they put their Bibles,
Yep.
but yeah. So I saw a headline. I didn't read it thoroughly that there was pushback on Obama's speech to black men, suggesting that they should, I don't know, that it seemed slightly patronizing, or the suggestion was that it was slightly patronizing,
Uh-huh.
talking about Kamala and black women and, kind of addressing black men as one kind of, right?
Right. No. Right.
Which in itself is obvious, but perhaps not appropriate. I don't know. I just wonder whether you'd read that or what you thought about it.
No, I did not hear the speech itself. I have heard commentary, and I guess no, and I yeah, no, I mean, was it his tone sort of like you need to step up, kind of,
Yeah,
or
yeah, exactly.
which
Yes.
and no, which
Like listen to your mama.
right, no, right, right. I think. No, yeah, no, I think you're right, and or whoever, I mean, the commentators were saying that can come. He needs to be careful. That can sound patronizing. I think, but I think also, I think he's speaking statistically. I think they've looked at the numbers and what
Yeah.
black women are leaning towards, what black men are leaning towards, and what's influencing them, and it's some of it's alarming. I mean, some of it is misinformation. Some of it is.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I don't think he's speaking to all black men, but I think he's speaking to some, and I think I think it's an important message. I think he's an important messenger, but I also, and keep in mind, that is also what it means to be some, to have a dialogue with your own people in a dominant culture society where people from outside of that are going to have their opinions on it.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, that's because he's got he's got that on his back while he's doing that.
Yes, and so
It's not a private room. It's
right. And so no matter what he says, it's going, someone's going to, yeah. So no, I think
a
it's
journalist is going to go and find a white journalist is going to find a black man who thinks it was inappropriate if he wants
yes,
to write that story.
yes,
If,
yeah. So no, but and no, okay. What do you think? And again, I think, I mean, yeah, as you know, we talk about topical events, everything. I watch a lot of news, but I do feel myself like, I mean, as we move into the next 30 days, like, I can't watch polls. I can't watch this sort of incremental back and forth, like day by day. But I mean, I guess, what do you think of? I mean, she's doing a lot of media. She's doing a lot of like young media. I mean, in terms of podcasts and things like that. She's gotten like the real superstar people like Obama out for her. Yeah, no. What do you? How do you think it's going? What do you think? Yeah.
I I agree with you that on the same page I can read it's her, it's him, it's 1% here, the
Yep.
Senate's going red. In other
Yep.
words,
Yep.
and I have to step back and say these guys are, well, it's not newspapers, but these guys are selling ads. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
in other words, there's never nothing happening, even if in fact there's nothing happening, or
Yes.
nothing being, it's very, very close. Nobody
Right.
knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And each day you can say, Donald Trump said something stupid. Uh, she was too cheeky or too nice
Yeah.
or too
Yep.
that. And that's made into news where,
Right.
like the lady next door went shopping. That's news too.
Right. No. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Really, it's a huge kind of microscope
Uh-huh.
on, and I think she's doing what as much as she can to win this, and if she doesn't, it's not for lack of skills or trying or anything else.
Right.
It on the other hand, if Donald Trump wins, it will be in spite of almost everything he's doing,
Yes. Yes.
which is being ignored by both his base and people who don't like him, but they maybe have one issue that
Yep.
they feel they're going to go with, and therefore vote with him on that one issue, whether it's pro-life, whatever it is, or they think mistakenly that he has ever had some effect on the business, on the economy of the United
Right.
States.
Yep.
I don't think I think very few presidents have ever had an effect on
Right.
the, so they have to ride whatever wave they're on,
Yes.
and he just lied. I mean, if you it's 4 years and more since he's been president, right?
Yes.
But human memory, I mean, people don't remember what they paid for bacon 5 years ago.
Yes.
So he can lie. And
Yeah.
which he does.
Yes.
But it does seem to me, and maybe it's just the New York Times articles, they seem to be suggesting that he's personally becoming, he's getting angry, he's getting out of control, he's complaining about not having enough protect. I mean, he puts himself in a situation that needs protection,
Yes.
and then he says, I'm not getting enough,
Yes.
and then, so they want me to die, or
Yeah.
it's a victim playing the victim. But I think he's also, I think because he's so shallow, she's raised much more money than he has.
Yes.
And I think her taunts, or the taunts that her crowds are bigger than his, these are two things that really matter to him.
Yes.
Because I don't think he can't grasp much beyond that.
Right. No. Right. Right. And he doesn't care. I mean, I don't think when it comes down to it, when people say that he's just all over the place on policy, it's because he doesn't really care one way or another. As long as he has the power and the accolades, I mean, it does. He'll say whatever to whoever to keep them happy. But if he wins, I mean, I think we really need to. That is our country. That is who we have to. I mean, and if he doesn't win, that's still a percentage of our country, and they're not going to go away overnight. And he's going to say, "Stop the steal," and they're going to. I mean, it's that's.
If he
all.
doesn't win and it's very close, then it's going to be very dangerous. I think it's going to be actually physically dangerous.
Yeah.
I think people might go for their guns,
Yeah. Yeah.
I I have faith that I don't know, whatever, who police, military, I don't know. I don't think there's a government entity that would support him in that. If there was
Right.
if there was if there was a real movement beyond January 6th, I mean, like January 6th on a much larger scale,
Right.
I don't think the military would support him. I don't.
No. No.
You
I
might
don't.
have individuals in the military and the police, etc., around the country
Sure.
would,
Yes.
but
No. No. I do. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think ultimately he can say he's the candidate of law and order, but he's not. I mean, he's not. It's and I mean, just as we saw on January 6th with the Capitol Police, that their duties are to the institutions, and at the end of the day, they can see what a threat he is to those, and that's yeah. I mean, I do believe that. I still believe that, but
if he loses and is sentenced to jail, which is very possible,
right.
is his support going to melt away, or is it going to double? I don't know.
Well, they say that what they call the quote-unquote Patriot Wing in Washington, D.C., which is where many of the January 6th defendants, well, not surprisingly, a new report comes out that says they've only been radicalized. They very much have played into the belief that they are political prisoners. They're not sorry. They're not. Some of them have the longest sentences because they refuse to denounce anything, and they've continued to dig in and become more and more radicalized. And so, I mean, he would be their leader in jail or out. I mean, it's a criminal
now he becomes a martyr.
Right. But it's a criminal organization. I mean, it's made up of people who meet clandestinely, who use social media that anonymizes them to keep. I mean, it's an illegal enterprise that goes all the way up to the candidate running for president. Very pretty open, out in the open. I mean, in the permeability between well, again, you can't even say it with a straight face, but like a legitimate, a member of Congress, whether they are a legitimate human being or not, but like Marjorie Taylor Greene and people trafficking in like space laser is, I mean, it's a Venn diagram, and there, I mean, and that kind of, but they, yeah, and to me, it's just,
Stephen Colbert said that the Democrats couldn't possibly change the climate. He said the only person that can change the climate is Beyonce.
yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
no,
the idea that that a hurricane was man-made to prevent Donald Trump from becoming president. I mean,
okay, to know you could say that out loud and that people will believe you is remarkable. That's the real. I mean, that it's not even that. I mean, I think that they secretly in the back rooms laugh about how outrageous they're, they who can be.
do they? I don't know. I mean, do they wink, wink?
Well, when pressed in court, someone like Alex Jones, who is famous for all the, the
Yes.
fluoride is making the frogs gay kind of thing, admits that it's all a persona, admits that it's a character, admits that he rants like that. He doesn't even talk like that, but he elevates his voice and he rants about whatever for 3 hours for money, and he admits that when he has to.
I guess it's called advertising. They do that's how you sell detergent. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean his own excuse is, why should who would believe me? I mean that's his legal defense when he's brought into court. Who would take me seriously? And it didn't work. I mean the Sandy Hook family still they won, but that was his best defense. Is that yeah? I don't know.
I don't know why this. I just had this vision of Christ on the cross saying, "Hey, I was only kidding. I'm not king of the Jews."
Thank you.
Oh, God, wow.
Just got my mail.
Oh, good. Oh, that's nice.
Yes. But okay, no. What else? I mean, what else? Oh, the Tropicana, the last of the strip hotels, the like the old school mob owned, like the original hotels, was imploded this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
It
They
is
found
no,
the
it is.
bodies. There were, I mean,
It is. I yeah no. It is sad. It is sad to me. And it's interesting. I saw a documentary with one of the guys who designs the mega casinos and just how they keep getting bigger and more and more. But he basically described them as movie sets. They're not designed to be permanent. They're not permanent structures. They are, you build one. He's replaced his own buildings. He's been an architect in Las Vegas long enough to build something, see it demolished, and then build something else in the same site. And he has a pretty sort of whatever attitude towards that.
in other words, when you buy, let's say you buy the land and your intention is to make money by putting on it at any given time what is going to attract people. And you change the name, the shape.
Yep.
You're intending to, you have no intention of building a permanent
Yeah.
structure. Yeah, you have to abide by all the building codes. I mean, it
Sure.
has to be safe. It has,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. But well, I mean, I think though in some cases that's where when sometimes as those building codes change, it becomes, does it make sense to retrofit an older building with new fire codes and earthquake codes or whatever, or do we just demolish it and build a new one from scratch that meets all those things? Or same thing with like, wheelchair access and disabilities. Do we, tear out the steps and put in ramps, or do we just start all over and then build everything wide enough that it's all accessible from scratch? I think that's part of it, is that those codes and things change over time.
well, that leads me to something which I've been kind of following which is in, but I only found out more about it yesterday. The Chrysler building was sold a few years ago
Yes.
for a very small amount of money, like $115 million.
Huh.
$115 million
Yeah.
for the Chrysler building.
Yes.
And it was bought from some Abu Dhabi people. They
Sure.
paid $800 million for it,
Right.
like 10 years before that.
Sure.
But what I didn't know is that's the building, it's not the land. The
Huh.
land is owned by Cooper Union
Huh.
or a foundation, a kind of,
Yes.
and they charge rent,
Huh.
right? And they can put that rent up. The people
Interesting.
paid a small amount, I mean 115, whatever it was. One of the partners, who is some Swiss guy, his company's gone bankrupt, and they also found out. It's like they're saying, well, we didn't know it was in such bad condition.
Oh.
It's very old. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
they didn't walk through the building. I mean, you buy the Chrysler building. Are you buying it because it's called the Chrysler building
Right.
in the
Right.
history? I mean, I've been in. Once I had a client who was an old-fashioned lawyer. He had an office in the building. It was nice, but it was old-fashioned. I mean, I'm sure
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the plumbing in the toilets was pretty poor.
Right.
So now they're in a real bind because um, I don't know, I don't know, it could then, I suppose, go into bankruptcy. But whoever buys it would have to, I don't know, put a huge amount of money in it. Because
Right.
one of the reasons, of course, is after COVID, people didn't come back to work. So
Right.
they don't, it's not full.
Yes.
Um, so I guess the people who paid so little thought they were getting a bargain. Well, they knew they would have to pay rent for the land,
Right.
but I didn't think, they didn't know the degree to which it could be increased. I don't know.
Right. And yeah. No. And
You can't take that building also, but that's not, as opposed to Las Vegas, that's not a building that you can take down
no. Right.
and put
No.
up a
Yeah.
new,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
80 stories, whatever.
Is that still? It feels like that slowed a little bit. Those needle buildings that were going up.
I can't believe driving, because on the drive back from where we are now,
Yeah.
you see that amazing, land cityscape, and you think after the Twin Towers, there are now 7 or 8 even taller buildings
Yeah.
sticking up.
Yeah.
I think, like, I don't know, begging something to happen.
Huh.
They're not that safe. I I think that has slowed a bit.
Right.
Um, but most of them are empty most of the time
Right.
because the owners are people who have multiple homes,
Yes.
and even if it's a huge triplex that they paid $80 million for or whatever, they're not in New York all the time.
Right. So I mean, so various.
Which is why there's housing problems in this city,
Yes.
because there's tons of luxury housing that is basically empty.
Right. No, and I think, I mean, I do think, well, there have definitely been various, like in Florida, sort of investments that have targeted people from various countries or whatnot. And I don't think, I mean, I do think foreign national just buying up property and land and not using it is actually it does have a, but I don't, well, I'm sorry. People buying up land and housing and just not using it, whether they are foreign nationals or not, I think is a problem. I think someone needs to do so. I think Airbnbs continue to be unregulated in how they operate in ways that also artificially, well, it makes housing shortages harder. I think that
Yeah, I agree with you. They do. Because people think they make more money
Mhm,
by turning it over every 3 days or every week.
mhm.
Rather, they couldn't charge that amount
Right.
to a monthly tenant, to someone who had a 2-year lease, right? They make more money.
But I mean, I think I know. I mean, I think housing definitely needs to be reformed. Here in Seattle, we have it's the issue is just very strict zoning laws in terms of how tall you can build and things, and it's unfortunate because it's I mean it's to me it's all just kind of NIMBYs who want to keep their quote unquote neighborhood feel, but at the expense of density that's necessary to keep developing as a city. Otherwise, you just kind of stay. I mean, well, but they like their kind of
A neighborhood feel is surely something that evolves every 10, 20, or 30 years. And it's different,
yes,
it's not set in time from 200 years ago. The
yes,
neighborhood, someone today is talking about the feel of the neighborhood. They may have moved in more recently than you have,
yes, yeah.
and so that's a concept. It's not actually the neighborhood is going to continue to feel different. It's not
Well,
a
it's a concept unless you build in policy that artificially sort of preserves it. And then I mean, and then again, some of those policies go all the way back to like redlining and really intentionally discriminatory policies. But I mean, yeah, policies that and yeah, I mean, all the things I'm in favor of: density, transit. Yeah, I would like to see these in all parts of the city, but many people think those are only downtown things or only, you know what I mean? And they don't. They like
no,
them at.
they're everywhere. There's a continuing scandal particularly in Southampton, over the need to build affordable housing,
Hmm.
having a place to build it, having the money to build it, and
Yes.
the people still not wanting it, simply because they do not want lower income people as neighbors.
Right. Right.
That's simply what it is.
Yeah.
They found the land, they found the money. There is a definite need, because the people who are cutting their lawns
Right.
have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to drive there because they can't or believe it or not, some of them sleep in the woods
Yes. No, I know. I absolutely believe it.
so that they can go to the train station at 6 a.m. and hope to be picked up to do day labor, you
Right.
know?
No, right. And the part that and again, I work with, people who live unsheltered, is these are your neighbors, whether whether yeah, it's amazing to me. The city of Burien, which is sort of a suburban city to Seattle, was offered, I don't remember what the deal was, or some kind of grant, if it originally was federal money, but they were given $1 million by the county to build affordable housing, and that the deadline came and went, and they just gave it up. I mean, $1 million invested into your community that you'd rather just not just you won't take it because of what it is, which is affordable housing. I mean, it's
Yeah,
wild.
because you might not, you think you don't like the people who might be living there.
Right. I mean, it's
You don't
that.
know them. You don't know.
No. Yeah. And again, you don't realize that they're in your community anyway if they're working at the places and they're there, but they're yeah. And then now the Supreme Court has ruled you do. I mean, there was a very specific protection that you couldn't arrest someone for encampment for living unsheltered if you didn't have an alternative for them, if you didn't offer shelter. But that this was Grants Pass in Oregon. The Supreme Court has overruled it, and so now these places no longer, and especially in smaller towns, don't have to offer any alternative. They can basically just criminalize homelessness. And so the only alternative is to either go to jail or leave town. And it's, I mean, again, these are kind of like, it's a new kind of sundown town. It's a new kind of, I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, and I mean, and again, my city council here is they're very into things like homeless sweeps and just, and when you sweep things up, I mean, they literally do just come with like garbage trucks. They take everyone's possessions. They're supposed to store it for 72 hours, but they don't. They just throw it all away. You have people, losing the same possessions over and over. And it doesn't fundamentally change it. The same areas 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they will still be the same areas. And people say, well, they're out there doing drugs. It's like, well, people are in their own homes doing drugs too. They just don't, they have the luxury of not being out in the street. These, I mean, that's the difference. It's not that homeless people are doing more drugs than other people. It's that they have no place to do them except in public. And so yeah, and then all that kind of rhetoric, I mean, and then Trump going to Aurora, Colorado, where these migrants are being accused. And again, the officials saying, no, that's
everybody, the Republican officials, the mayor, everybody. And it's obvious, you could see what happened with a scuzzy landlord, not, with his low-income apartment buildings, not putting any money in them.
Mm-hmm.
And thugs being able to move in, but probably not more than 8 or 10 people,
Right. No, right. And not in
a couple of apartment buildings, but well, it doesn't have to be remotely but the goal to actually go there
right.
is amazing. I mean, he's not pointing the finger across, the country. He's going there.
And demanding protection. And what, I mean, these,
yes.
and these are not, these are not communities he's particularly welcome. I'm getting the impression, but I don't know.
So something more pleasant.
What else? I am going to be, speaking of Las Vegas, I'm going to be in Las Vegas next week.
Great.
I'm looking forward to it, but I think this is probably going to be, I mean, this had been kind of an annual thing, but I mean, I like Vegas. It's a cheap, predictable trip, but I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. In any event, I had this one planned a year in advance, and now that it's here, I'm like, I don't know, but I'm going to do it because yeah.
Well, I'll be very anxious to hear afterwards whether it was below, above, or met your low expectations.
Sure.
I haven't been there. I mean, I haven't been there since I was there with you.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, I hadn't been. Yeah, no, when I went back 3 years ago, and I go every year for this music festival, but that's also getting more expensive and all that. But yeah, no, I hadn't been back in 20 years. I mean, since I had lived there, and so I had. But it doesn't change. I mean, again, the structure, the buildings change, but they don't. I mean, it's like, okay, was that what? That used to be a pirate ship, but now it's I don't know, something else fancy. Well, I mean, they don't. They change, but they don't.
Do it still have that kind of 50s feel? I don't know.
The Fremont experience does. The covered area down where it's sort of the neighborhood where I used to live, and that's where I actually like to stay. Yes, still feels. I mean, any time of the day or night, they're playing Frank Sinatra. They have, you can still smoke in those casinos. They have. I mean, it's very. Yeah, it feels. They the windows are painted over, so you don't have to think of what year it is. You can live out your retirement era in the 50s if that's what you want. Which, yeah.
I still get that feeling, although I don't ever go for more than a couple of days for work to Los Angeles or to that.
Yes.
Beverly Hills area of Los Angeles. It's
Yes.
still Hollywood stars, and
Yeah.
maybe you're going to see Bob Hope put his trash out. Uh, I don't know. It's anything that's more contemporary seems to have just been dropped in and isn't really integrated.
Right. No, I mean, in LA, I have only been to once in my entire life. It felt exactly like it was described. It is depicted, and I was like, okay, I have experienced this. I went to Disneyland. Okay, I have experienced this. I haven't felt. And again, I think I was raised with very much of a New Yorker mentality of don't worry about LA. But yeah, and I hate to be like, and it didn't impress me, but it didn't. And but to me, some things like that now they have a subway. I guess I have a hard time picturing that. Yeah, I don't know.
I think, yeah, but still everybody breaks down on the freeway. I
Right,
mean,
right. It doesn't seem to have fundamentally. You don't. It didn't change
no.
the culture. It didn't change the. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So what does your week look like? Anything exciting?
Well, the most of my colleagues are in Paris for a
Mm,
Paris art fair.
mhm,
Um, I'm kind of close to the artist who's having his show at the moment, and tomorrow is his last week.
mhm.
So I want to, and I've got a couple of possibilities. So I've stayed in town, which means it will be relatively quiet for me. So
Right.
a Monday off. We're going to, Victoria and I have gone to the opera probably, oh, not even once a year.
Yeah.
And in the evening, and we never make it through two acts. I mean, never make it
Yes.
third act. And tomorrow we're going at 3 o'clock for a matinee
Okay.
of Tales of Hoffman, and it's the 3.5 hours. So it's possible I can stay awake until 6:30.
Yes. Yeah. 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 That's.
But that's cut into my nap time. They only nap
Yeah.
from 2 to 3,
Yeah.
so we'll see. But we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to finally seeing the third act of an opera.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
thought I had an idea once because we're not alone in that, you know.
Right. No. Right. Right.
At the end of the season,
Yes.
they should just have third acts starting at
That's.
six
I mean,
o'clock.
that honestly isn't. I mean, that isn't a bad idea. I mean, that is.
I mean, it's opera. I mean, after all,
Right.
right? I mean,
But I, it's okay. And well, well, again, derangement syndrome. We already stopped talking about him, but there's all this talk. We talk about crowd size, and then this whole thing of people leaving events, and I think that's true of both candidates, and I think that's true of a lot of events. I mean, I see perfectly popular bands who people spend, huge bands, Green Day, people spend an hour and a half watching their opening band only to watch 45 minutes of the actual band because they're more worried about traffic. It says nothing about Green Day. It says nothing about it doesn't say anything about their popularity. It just says I
no,
have to go to work tomorrow, and so I think that's one thing we need to destigmatize is people leaving venues before events are over,
yeah.
because I think that we all do it sometimes for different reasons.
We felt bad leaving Elton on stage in New Jersey in order to get
Well,
to our car.
well, it's new. I mean, it's new. Some people are going to be coming from New York, and they're going to have to get. Yeah, they're going to get back on the turnpike. They don't want. Yeah, no, I get. Yeah, I don't. I suspect if you are a headlining artist, these. That I mean, you
Of
take it.
course you do. Of
You
course
don't
you
take
do.
it personally. And then
No.
people like Madonna who push it. They don't even start until 11, and then because
Yeah.
she's famously like she doesn't. She takes
Yeah,
like
yeah, so fine. So
yeah.
I,
I've already got your ticket money, so do what you want. I mean, I think
yeah.
is probably
Also, the poor folk can come down to the front now,
right. No,
right?
exactly. No, exactly. All right. No, that sounds good. How are the dogs? How are the dogs doing?
They're fine. They're okay. They're getting used to the city. We're bringing them into the city more.
Yeah.
Getting used to that. It's a process. It's fine. It's all good.
And then yeah. No. Okay. Yeah. So I
Well,
won't. Yeah.
we'll
I
talk to
will.
you next week.
I won't. Yeah. Not next week, but I'll talk to you the week after. Okay.
Okay.
I love
Great.
you.
Oh, I
Have a
love
great
you.
week.
Take care. Have fun.
Thank you. I
Anyway,
will.
bye.